Leather jackets, sock hops, drive-ins, and a polished version of 1950s teenage life are usually what comes to mind with Happy Days. But one of the strangest things about the show is that its very first episode carried more risk than many fans remember. Long before the series became a comfort watch favorite and long before Fonzie turned into a television phenomenon, the show opened with a story that leaned into sexual pressure, gossip, and a joke at the end that landed very differently with modern audiences. What was meant to introduce Richie Cunningham's awkward coming-of-age world also exposed how quickly an old sitcom can look far less innocent when viewed decades later. And since this episode has caused so much debate, tell us in the comments whether you think classic TV should air exactly as it was originally made, or whether episodes like this should come with warnings or edits, because this is the Happy Days episode that almost got the show canceled in a very different way than anyone expected. All the way.
Y'all set, Rich?
Yeah, almost.
Well, you better get going or she'll think you're not coming. Now remember, when she twists her hair, that's a sign she wants a French kiss, and she loves it when you blow in her ear.
All right, but tell me what you did. So I don't do exactly the same thing. Otherwise, it might look kind of suspicious, you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe you got a point.
When Happy Days debuted in 1974, January, it was not yet the warm, polished institution that many people remember. The first episode, All the Way, introduced Richie Cunningham as a nervous teenager trying to impress Mary Lou Milligan, a girl he has built up in his mind before he ever really understands her. On the surface, that sounds like a harmless first date story. In practice, the episode is far more uncomfortable than its nostalgic reputation suggests. Richie's friends push him towards Mary with the assumption that her reputation already tells the whole story. That idea drives nearly everything that follows. Before the date even begins, Mary is spoken about less like a person and more like a challenge Richie is supposed to handle correctly. That alone gives the episode a very different tone from the family-friendly image many people associate with the series. A lot of the discomfort comes from Potsy's advice. He coaches Richie in a way that treats romance like strategy and physical contact like a set of tricks to be deployed at the right time. The comedy is built around Richie being too anxious and inexperienced to pull any of it off smoothly, but the scene still rests on the idea that a girl's signals should be decoded and acted on. Then comes the date itself, where the episode takes an interesting turn. Richie tries to live up to what he thinks is expected, but Mary immediately stops him when he goes too far. Instead of matching the reputation that the boys gave her, she is clear, direct, and completely unimpressed by the assumptions surrounding her. In a better world, that would have been the point the whole time. But the episode spends so much time building the bad assumptions that the correction arrives after a lot of damage is already done. Pressure game.
Hey, you're not afraid of Mary Lou Milligan?
No, I just never dated a girl who went out with a sailor before, you know?
Hey, chicken?
No, I'm not chicken. I'm going.
What makes the story more revealing is that Richie's not really chasing Mary so much as he is chasing the approval of the other boys. The date becomes a test of masculinity. He worries less about whether he likes her and more about whether he will look foolish if he doesn't meet the standards his friends have handed him. That pressure is central to the episode's plot. After the date, the problem gets worse. Richie lets the boys assume he did it, even though he knows that's not true. He's embarrassed, cornered, and eager not to lose face. That lie becomes the episode's second major issue because Mary's reputation is once again being shaped by boys talking to other boys while she's not in the room. The script does show Richie feeling guilty, and his father pushes him to tell the truth. That gives the episode a moral center, at least in theory. The trouble is that the harm has already been done, and the show still treats much of the situation as ordinary teenage comedy instead of something more serious. Mary ends up being one of the few people in the episode who actually sees things clearly. She wants a date, a kiss, and a decent evening. Richie and his friends are the ones who turn it into a myth. In that sense, All the Way is almost accidentally revealing. It shows how rumor and peer pressure can create a false image of someone long before she has the chance to speak for herself. That's part of why the episode still sparks debate. Some viewers see it as a clumsy product of its time. Others see something more frustrating, a story where the girl has to clean up the mess created by the boys around her. Either way, it's not nearly as simple or as innocent as the title Happy Days might lead you to expect. Why it blew up.
What are you doing back there?
Back where?
I don't do things like that.
You don't?
No, I'm sorry.
You didn't tell me what to do if you said no.
What?
Nothing. It's just that you liked the book and you twisted your hair a lot.
I always twist my hair a lot. If you don't like it, just say so. Don't grab my sweater. You'll stretch it.
I'm sorry. Oh, but listen, this is real good material. This won't stretch much.
The controversy around All the Way didn't erupt in 1974. It exploded decades later after a 2022 rerun on Canadian television led to a formal complaint. The complaint argued that the episode was sexist, dismissive of predatory behavior, and inappropriate for the after-school time slot in which it aired. Suddenly, a sitcom pilot that once passed as harmless nostalgia was being judged by a very different audience. A big part of the complaint centered on how the episode talks about Mary. Her reputation is treated as common knowledge, and the boys behave as though that gives them permission to expect certain things from her. Even when the episode reveals that those assumptions are wrong, it never fully shakes off the tone it established early on. Another issue was a line near the end involving Mary mentioning that a gym teacher had tried to grab her sweater. The moment passes quickly, and the audience laughter around it only makes it feel stranger to modern ears. What now sounds alarming is treated almost like background chatter. For many viewers, that was one of the clearest examples of how older television could normalize things it should have taken more seriously. Then there was the final exchange about Alaska and Eskimos, which drew accusations of racist language. Even people willing to shrug off some of the dating material often hit a wall there. It arrives at the very end, which means the episode closes not with warmth or charm, but with a line that now feels dated at best and offensive at worst. All of that turned All the Way into more than just an awkward pilot. It became a case study in what happens when a beloved classic runs headfirst into present-day standards. The same episode that once introduced a future television institution now looked, to some viewers, like a reminder of how much old entertainment got away with. The ruling. The Canadian Broadcast Standards Council examined the complaint and reviewed the episode under rules involving stereotyping, offensive language, and human rights concerns. In the end, the panel agreed there was sexism in the episode, but it ruled that the material did not rise to the level of a code breach, so the complaint failed, even though the discomfort around the episode plainly remained. That decision is part of what made the case so interesting. The panel did not exactly declare the episode harmless. Instead, it took a narrower position, saying that offensive or outdated material does not automatically violate the rules. In other words, something can age badly without becoming unairable under the code being applied. The station itself responded more cautiously. It acknowledged that retro programs can contain material that reflects the era in which they were made, and said future airings would include a viewer discretion statement. That was a practical compromise. The episode would still air, but viewers would at least get some warning. That outcome probably pleased almost nobody completely. People who wanted the episode removed did not get that result. People who think older television should always be left untouched now had to accept warnings being attached to a classic sitcom. But maybe that middle ground was inevitable. The episode was not erased, yet it was no longer being presented as harmless fun without context. What remains is the larger discomfort. The ruling settled the complaint, but not the debate. All the Way still sits in that awkward space where nostalgia, cultural change, and broadcast policy all collide. Almost canceled.
The gym teacher, he told me built girls always get talked about. He tried to grab my sweater, too.
Mr. Brockington?
Yeah, good old Mr. B.
The funny twist is that Happy Days really did flirt with cancellation, but not because of this episode. The bigger threat came later when the show's ratings slipped after its early success. At that point, the problem was not controversy. It was that the series had not yet become the version audiences would later adore. In its first 2 seasons, the show was filmed as a single-camera comedy. That gave it a softer, more cinematic feel, but it did not create the same energy viewers came to expect from classic sitcoms. Meanwhile, Henry Winkler's Fonzie was turning into a breakout star, and the producers needed to find a way to harness that momentum before the network pulled the plug. The turning point came when the cast performed in front of a live studio audience. Suddenly, the reaction in the room changed everything. Fonzie's entrances got screams, the jokes landed harder, and the whole series felt bigger, faster, and more alive. It was a formal shift, but it also became an identity shift. Starting in season 3, Happy Days embraced that style fully, and the results were immediate. Ratings improved, the show took off, and what looked like a near miss turned into one of television's biggest success stories. So while All the Way later became one of the show's most argued over episodes, it was not the scandal that nearly ended Happy Days. The real danger was that the series had not yet figured out what kind of show it wanted to be. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think All the Way was simply an awkward product of its era, or did it cross lines that made the backlash completely justified? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below.